Hello, my name is Darren Thomas and I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at classroom management ideas, but we're going to be focusing on conflict resolution. So let's see what we can learn. Now, we're going to be looking at 5 different strategies that are commonly used to try to deal with conflict within the classroom. And these 5 strategies, they come from business literature primarily, management within the, business management as an example. And so that's kind of where they came from. You can find these probably in most management textbooks, and we're going to use these within the context of the classroom. So the 5 strategies that we will be looking at are avoiding, accommodating, forcing, compromising, and problem solving. And I also need to mention these are not in any particular order. So the first one that we're looking at here is avoiding. And so with the strategy of avoiding, you ignore the problem. And you're hoping that it disappears to the ideal of, we call it extinction. That's actually a term that's used when we're talking about principles in educational psychology and behaviorism or whatever like that. And so by ignoring whatever the student is doing that is not acceptable to the teacher, what the teacher is hoping is that through the lack of attention to that undesirable behavior, the student will stop doing it. I think it's no secret that many students are starved for attention, and they will often act out if they can get attention, whether it's positive or negative. If you deny a student the reward that he's looking for, which is attention, he may not continue with the behavior that is causing problems. Again, none of these strategies are 100%, but they do work in many different situations. The next one that we have here is accommodating. And that is when the teacher is trying to make an attempt to please all the parties. So if 2 students are fighting, trying to find a way to work out a deal between those 2 students so that everyone's happy. Or if it's between a teacher and a student, working on a deal that is satisfying to both parties. And a common example or technique that is used with this strategy is humor. So making the students laugh, being funny. This can often help to resolve a situation, or at least release some of the tension. One of the problems with accommodating, and even sometimes with the problem of ignoring the behavior or avoiding, is that the problem may go unsolved. It's very difficult to have 2 parties be 100% happy with the solution. Often one side feels that they were taken advantage of. So this could be a roadblock to having success with the accommodating strategy. The next one that we have here is forcing. And this is basically where a teacher exercises their authority as the leader of a classroom to make students do something. Again, this is a commonly used strategy by teachers. They have the impression that they are the authority figure, and so they exercise that authority. One of the downsides to forcing is that it can create a lot of relational friction. So now the students don't like the teacher because they were ordered around. Many teachers don't like, barking orders and forcing kids to do things, so they get discouraged too, and both sides become bitter towards each other. And this can become a serious problem because the student will continue to find, at least passive aggressive ways to resist the demands of the teacher, because, people generally do not appreciate being told what to do. Another further problem with force is that it could be highly demotivating. When people lose that voice, that sense of autonomy that many people often need in their lives, when they're ordered around like this, it can be highly discouraging for them, and they can lose their motivation. The same idea applies to students. If you boss them around all the time, they start to feel overwhelmed. We're now moving to our next strategy, and that is compromising. And compromising is very similar to accommodating. And for many people, they don't see much of a difference between these two. But with accommodating, you're trying to make all sides happy. Everybody gets what they want, so to speak. Whereas with compromising, you're trying to create a win-win situation where both people kind of get a little bit of something. And often the problem with compromising is that both sides are never fully satisfied because they didn't get 100% what they wanted. For whatever reason, people often think in terms of a winner-take-all type mindset, in that, once I are able to establish the power and strength that I need to do something, I just do what I want, and that's kind of how it works out. Not worried about working with other people. And so that could be a challenge. And sometimes with students, they don't want to compromise. They have their own set of fixed principles and they don't want to give in to them. So it can be very, very difficult to try to put both students or both parties in a situation in which they both win. All right. Our last one, I believe, is problem solving. And this is a situation in which all parties are happy with the decision that was made because they made it together or whatever. Again, maybe you're struggling to find the difference between accommodating, compromising, and problem solving. But with problem solving, many times the solution is coming from the parties involved and not necessarily from the teacher. That's one major difference as well. And there's also a heavy democratic emphasis. Again, I just touched on that in the previous bullet, in that the solution is coming from the people who are affected by the problem. It's not coming from above, from the teacher. And that's kind of one way that problem solving may be different. The teacher, of course, can guide this process of drawing the conclusions needed for the students involved to solve the problem, but the ideas for dealing with the problem are originating not so much from the teacher as they're originating from the parties involved, the students. And so this is one minor difference. And so when you're looking at these accommodating, compromising, and problem solving, it's really more about perspective, what perspective you take rather than the actual name and process that you're using. So again, with problem solving, the perspective is like, okay, the students are going to bubble up with an idea and they might be guided by the teacher. Compromising is like, is probably going to involve the teacher making a decision where they try to make everybody happy. And accommodating is where the teacher, again, he's focused on the relationship rather than on whatever task they're fighting about, trying to find a way to maintain the relationship. So here are the 5 strategies that we looked at for dealing with conflict as an example in the classroom. Avoiding, pretending it does not exist, accommodating, trying to find a way to make everybody happy, forcing, making them do it, compromising, trying to make a win-win situation, if you will, and problem solving where you have more of a democratic focus, and perhaps the way to solve the problem is originating from the students. So I would like to thank you for listening. My name is Darren Thomas, and I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.